The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. You guys see him? You see him. He needs an introduction. He's known the world over. It's Pops.
You know what I'm saying?
We're on our way to the fights in Kissimmee, Florida. Edgar Berlanga, Navarrete versus Christopher Pitufo Diaz. Gonna be a good weekend of boxing, but it's a long drive from North Miami, from South Florida, so we got time to kill. So we're gonna kill it. I'm gonna make a lot of videos right now while I got time. So first video I wanted to make was about Oscar De La Hoya, ironically. So shout out to Oscar De La Hoya. Obviously a marquee name in boxing, a guy that been involved in a lot of big fights. I had a chance to finally get around and watch some of the clips from his commentating on Triller, if you want to call it that. He was blazed and blitzed out of his mind. And when I first saw Oscar De La Hoya high as hell or drunk as hell, whatever he was, I believe he said he was drinking a lot, so I'm gonna assume that he was drunk. When I first saw it, I laughed because it was funny. It's like he was rambling on and on and on. But then after I thought about it, I was thinking to myself, it's kind of sad, because if you look at the timeline of Oscar De La Hoya and what's happened to him and how he's behaved since he's retired from boxing, it's been just very weird, very strange, very, pun intended, fishy behavior. He had them fishnets on, and it made me think to myself, like, with fighters, right? Like, I know a lot of fighters. I'm friends with a lot of fighters locally here in South Florida. Shout out to all South Florida fighters. And a lot of times I ask fighters, just see where their head's at. I ask them, like, why are you boxing? Why did you decide to box? And the answer I normally get, like 9 times out of 10, the answer I normally get is, like, fighters will say, I'm boxing for my family, I'm boxing to make money, I'm boxing to be a legend, I'm boxing to become undisputed, and all these things, right? And I think those are all by themselves fantastic things. But to be honest with you guys, I think that's a reason why fighters, after they retire, they wind up becoming just completely messed up. Like, look at your guys like Jermaine Taylor, who he messed his whole career up after he was done. Now he got De La Hoya. And there's just been so many fighters over the years that have suffered from being addicts of some sort, whether it be drug addicts, drug addiction, sex addiction, whatever. Validation. They want validation. They want the validation they got when they were fighting, but they can't seem to get it anywhere else in life after boxing, because they didn't plan for life after boxing, because all they were planning for was boxing. So it's weird, because the things that make fighters great is also the things that can be their undoing if they're not careful. So this video really is just a message to, like, all the fighters out there in the world. Like, have your goals, like, have your ambitions, strive to be undisputed, make as much money as possible, because it's a short window and it's a tough business to make it in. But you gotta really get honest with yourself. Get honest with yourself and ask yourself the really tough questions, and be honest with yourself. Why am I boxing? Why am I boxing? And if the answer is anything that can easily be taken away from you, then I think you need to evaluate why you were boxing. So, like, for example, if you're boxing just because of money, or just because of fame, or just because of validation, then you're gonna be in big trouble. Whether maybe not in your career, but after your career, and like watching Oscar De La Hoya was a big reminder of that, because I know how the culture of boxing is. It's like boxing is a poor man's sport. Boxing is a sport for mostly, let's just be real, most people in boxing are minorities who come from some sort of poverty, the projects, the ghetto, the grind, the gutter, So you come from broken homes, you come from broken dreams, you come from broken families. So when you find, a lot of us who find boxing, we find boxing, and it becomes probably one of the first things in our lives that gave us any sort of joy, and that gave us any sort of validation that we couldn't get from anywhere else in the world. And you gotta be careful with that, because once we get that validation, we always want that validation. But what most fighters don't understand is that one day that'll all come to an end. One day you won't be in your prime anymore. One day you won't be making $7 million paydays on pay-per-view. One day you won't be in the position you are when you're 26, 27, 28, 32, 33. That time eventually comes to an end. It might be in your 20s, it might be in your 30s, it might even be in your 40s if you're very blessed, but it will come to an end. And my message in this video is just for like the fighters out there, really get honest with yourself as to why you're boxing, because if not, you're gonna end up like Oscar De La Hoya, coked out, alcohol out, you know, making a complete fool of yourself. Because it's crazy. Oscar De La Hoya in the 90s was what Canelo is now. He was the face of boxing. He was one of the focal points of the sport, and he fought everybody. He did very well. He won a gold medal for this great country of America, and he was creme de la creme. He was one of those people that carried boxing on his shoulders from a business standpoint for so many years. And to see him tarnish his reputation and kind of have the memories of who it is he was as Oscar the fighter fading away and being replaced by Oscar with the fishnets and Oscar with the alcohol, you just don't want that to be you when you retire. So that's my message to the fighters. You got any message, Pops?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nose. After boxing, you have to have a plan B. In reality, in life, you have to have that anyways. Whether it's going out and fucking girls and the club life and doing that becomes old, even with money and everything. You try to get self gratification in any way you can, whether it's being competitive, whether it's being whatever the case may be. And even when you have everything, you have to try to find a balance within yourself, whether it's even being active in the community, any way that you feel self gratified. That's what happens to a lot of athletes. They're so used to being competitive and getting self gratification for being looked upon by the public or by the fans and so forth. And when that comes to an end, they don't know how to deal with it. So what I'm getting at, prime example, Oscar De La Hoya he's done everything for boxing. He's accomplished everything for boxing. He's become a promoter. When you got to that epical or that final point in your life, where you have everything, you literally like, what's there for me to do? And believe me, stupid is what stupid does. And when you get to that point, I think you should invest your time more wisely. That doesn't mean you can't go have a good time, because I used to be and couldn't stand TBE.
Mayweather?
Yeah. I love TBE. I love what he does. I don't give a fuck if he flashes $100 million up his ass and whatever he does, but he's always keeping himself busy. He's enjoying life and he's doing something positive. That's not always the case, but you have to, whether you're a lower level fighter, higher level fighter, or whatever kind of level fighter you are, or whatever professional you are, you have to realize that everything comes to an end. It's just like when you're in your prime. When you're in your prime and you're fucking everything and you're doing everything, you think you're invincible in your teens and your 20s, and then when you get to my age, your dick don't get up anymore.
Oh snap, he getting real.
And then you're like, oh fuck, what's going on here? Or you're too slow to react to things. The reality is, everything has a cycle, everything has a phase, and everything does come to an end at a certain point. You have to be realistic and have certain plans, certain goals in mind to keep yourself, to get that competitive edge that you crave for, to get the thing, but in a way that's not only be positive for yourself, as you've always been looked upon, but also for the public that also looks upon you and follow you.
That's it, man. That's our little message to the fighters out there. It's like what I want every fighter to do. If any fighter watches this video, I want y'all to really just go somewhere where you can relax and calm your thoughts and ask yourself the question of, why am I fighting? And like I said, if it's anything that can be taken away from you, if your purpose isn't bigger than material wealth or material things, then I think you're in trouble. You know, that's only my opinion. You can have yours, I have mine.
And you know, boxing is like your life can be taken away in an instant. You can be standing straight today, tomorrow, God bless you, in a wheelchair.
That's right.
So
eating food through a straw, by Gerald McClellan.
You can't like take boxing for granted. You gotta have another plan besides that. Nobody's saying that, because I know a lot of fools just gonna come here and say, well, what do you think of BT and fucking Pops why they go to boxing? Because they love fucking fighting and they like boxing. Well, we know that, but there's more to that than that. You have to have a plan. Even myself, BT talks to me all the time. Dad, what the fuck is your plan? You got a family, you got this, but what the fuck do you want out of life? What is your goal plan? Not what I want.
I do be telling them that.
Not what Bobby, your best friend, wants, or Johnny, the next door neighbor, wants from you,
or anything like that.
What do you want for yourself to get self-satisfaction, that you've done something for yourself and gratified? So it's true. What you have to sit down and ponder these things while you're still young, and you can plan for the future. And you just never know what, like I said, you don't know what the ring rules for you inside and out when you get in there. So you have to have a plan up for yourself,
prayers go out to all the fighters out there, because it's
Right.
it's not an easy job you guys have. You guys are subject to a lot of criticism. I know here on my channel we criticize a lot of fighters because we're just passionate boxing fans, but I do and I can see your side of the story, and I don't want any fighter, whether I like them or hate them, as far as the hype they get or anything like that. I don't want any fighter to box their whole life and become like an Oscar de la Hoya. So that's why I'm making this video. You guys give your thoughts down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe, like I say in every single one of these videos. You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.